Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Patmos. It is Monday, Memorial Day, May 25th. Happy Memorial Day. And um, today we remember all of those who have served in uniform, put their lives at risk, and lost their lives. My grandfather fought in the World War One in the Battle of San Mihiel. I have two of his medals, and my uncles fought in World War II. My father also served in the Navy just at the end of World War II, but because he was too young, he didn't get in soon enough to be able to actually see any action. He lucked out. He got in the Navy, and just as the war was coming to an end. So, what did my father do when he was in the Navy? He was a boxer, and when he came out, he turned pro, and he had four fights that he won, and then he had an opportunity to spar with Jersey Joe Walcott. And after that, he said, "I'm done." He said he never felt power like that before, and he realized that there was a level of power at the heavyweight level that he had never experienced in the Navy, and he knew he could never match that, and he knew he would never be a heavyweight champion. He would just get he would get beat up along the way and become he'd always be a contender and never be able to be champion. So he realized that he just didn't have the power, maybe the size to compete. So he quit. But he taught me a lot. And I grew up watching boxing with my father. And he taught me how to evaluate boxers. And I've always been interested in that sport. And I became a physician. And as a result of my interest, I studied the neurology of boxing and what happens to boxers. And that led to an opportunity to be a licensed ringside physician in Nevada, where I was a licensed ringside physician, licensed by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. And I had the opportunity over several years to be a physician for many fights, including boxing, Olympic boxing, professional boxing, as well as kickboxing. And so I have some experience in this realm, and I need to opine about what happened the other night with Usyk and with Alexander Usyk and Rico Verhoeven because there's a lot going on the internet about this that is a little bit over the top. So let me give you my perspective on it and see if you think my assessment is correct. So I am an internal medicine physician, by the way. So what happened the other night? Well, Alexander Usyk, for those who are boxing fans, you know the guy's extraordinary. I mean, he holds all the titles, I think, but one. Uh, he's really been as close to an undefeated heavyweight that we've had in a long, long time. He has beaten all of the best fighters in the world. He's beaten Tyson Fury. He's beaten Daniel Dubois, and he's beaten Anthony Joshua. He's beaten everyone. It's not because he is the biggest or the strongest, but he is technically and tactically a very smart fighter. He just understands. He's very well trained. He's in excellent condition. But the most important thing is he has a vast amateur experience, and he's a very his ring IQ, as they say, is very high. He is able to figure people out and technically to eke out a victory against the best competition in the world. And I didn't think he could win all the fights he has won, but he has really impressed me with his ability to outthink his opponent. Well, he came close the other night in a very interesting fight. He fought Rico Verhoeven, who is an undefeated, or not undefeated, but he is a very highly regarded kickboxer with a lot of I think he was the world champion in kickboxing. I don't follow kickboxing, so I don't know that much about it. But this guy Verhoeven in the realm of kickboxing is the real deal. And Usyk fought him the other night, just interestingly, in the shadow of the pyramids at night out in the desert in Egypt. What a stunning setting that was. And it was a really exciting and a bit of a surprising fight. Verhoeven is very well trained and very good condition. He's got good boxing teachers, and he has sparred a lot with Tyson Fury. So he he has legitimate boxing credentials, even though he's only had one professional boxing match. He's had like 60 kickboxing matches, and I think his record is pretty good. I think he's only lost a few times, if I recall. He's really big. He's like 6'6", and even without an ounce of fat on him, he still weighs close to 260 pounds. He is a beast. And he gave Usyk all that Usyk could handle. It was a very interesting fight. The first few rounds pretty much did go to Verhoeven. What happened was he basically charged in and kind of tried to swarm Usyk. He landed some good body shots. He landed a few headshots. Usyk covered up, protected, moved, landed some of his own counter shots, and and it was a pretty close fight. The early rounds did go, I think, to Verhoeven, who looked pretty effective, but he never at no time did he actually hurt Usyk. Usyk was able to protect himself well, and he's got tremendous defense. But Verhoeven was on him. There's no question about it. But I saw something in Verhoeven's fighting, and I said, you know what, Usyk is going to catch him sooner or later. It's going to take a few rounds, but Usyk is going to catch him, and that's exactly what happened. If you watched the fight carefully, by round 9 and 10, Usyk had finally figured out how to get to this guy, and he was getting to him. And in round 11, he landed a very strong, very powerful right uppercut that dropped Verhoeven to his knees. Verhoeven got up and was really unsteady. I mean, he did not have his legs. He was really unsteady. By the way, when a when they say a fighter doesn't have his legs, it's not his legs at all. It's his brain that's going through a thing that causes your legs to go out. It's not the legs. There's no problem with the legs. The problem is with the brain being depolarized and being banged around. Well, Verhoeven didn't have his legs. He was really unsteady on his feet. The referee, he got up by the count of 10, and then the referee, because his mouthpiece had been knocked out, walked him over to his corner where he could barely walk. And in his corner, his cornerman fumbled around with the mouthpiece, I think intentionally dropping it to give him a little more time, give him a few more seconds, finally getting the mouthpiece in there. And all of that process took about 30 seconds. So really, Verhoeven um, uh, got up by the count of 10, but the fight didn't exactly resume. He had an additional time period of about 30 seconds with which to recover. It was a very slick move by his corner to stretch that out and give him a bit longer time to recover. Having said that, when the fight resumed toward the end of the 11th round, Usyk came in and landed about 6 or 7 really good shots. Verhoeven was essentially defenseless. He didn't throw a single punch back in those last seconds. He tried to cover up, but Usyk landed. Verhoeven was really, if the round didn't come to an end at that point, Verhoeven would have been put down another time, and then a fight would have definitely been over. So what's happening now is people saying, well, the fight was called too soon. I think I could have, that fight might have been a little. I think if I were the referee, I would have let it go a little further. I wouldn't have called the fight. I would have let the round end and then let Usyk come in and he probably would have finished him off in the 12th round. Verhoeven was really hurt at this point. And I think Usyk had figured him out and knew exactly how to get to him. But there are a lot of people now, especially MMA fans and kickboxing fans, who are screaming bloody murder that Verhoeven was robbed and he actually was the winner and he shouldn't have been the fight shouldn't have been stopped. Some are demanding a rematch. I think there is a clause for a rematch, and some are even saying that the results should be nullified and the decision thrown out. And that I don't agree with that. Um, Usyk did. It was a hard fight for Usyk. In some ways, it might have been one of his hardest fights, but he figured out Verhoeven's flaw. And I don't know if you saw it, but I certainly saw it from the very first round. Verhoeven is a good fighter, no question about it. There's a lot of heavyweights out there that he could beat, but he has one gaping, enormous flaw that I think a trained boxing eye will pick up on. And someone with a very good who is a good uppercut puncher would take Verhoeven out with no problem. Usyk has a good uppercut. That's not his. He's not a super uppercut puncher. He's very versatile. He uses all kinds of punches from all different angles. But he figured out that Verhoeven has this very bad habit, and he eventually exploited it. So what is wrong with Verhoeven's boxing style? Well, look carefully. It is his stance. Verhoeven is a tall guy, and if you watch how he stands, he is bent forward at the waist. I mean, really bent forward at the waist. His back is curved. He's crouched down. He tucks his head into his shoulders, which, and he keeps his guard up really high, and all of that is good. It makes it hard for someone who punches straight jabs and straight rights to penetrate his high guard. And because he's so curved and his neck is down in his shoulders, and his back is so curved, it makes it hard to get to him with hooks. Usyk has tremendous right and left hooks. So in the early rounds, Usyk was hitting him, but a lot of those punches were blocked, and they weren't as effective as they might have been because of Verhoeven's style. But the crouched shoulders, curved back, head down thing leaves him open to the uppercut. And from round one, I've never watched Verhoeven before, but from round one, I said, this guy is open to the uppercut. And I could picture in my head what it would be like for Verhoeven to face someone who's got a tremendous uppercut. And I was thinking about George Foreman in his prime. If you remember when George Foreman beat Joe Frazier and Ken Norton, George Foreman is throws the best uppercuts I've ever seen. And I think I put in my mind Foreman at his prime and Verhoeven. I don't think Verhoeven would last 3 rounds with George Foreman. Anybody with a really good uppercut is going to hurt Verhoeven and take him out. But for fighters who are sort of straighter punchers without the very powerful uppercuts, I think Verhoeven would give a lot of fighters a hard time. A strong uppercut that's the weakness. That's Verhoeven's weakness. He is open to a strong uppercut because his stance is has a flaw, and I don't think he's ever going to correct that. If he were to become a stand-up, straight-up fighter, he would then expose himself more to the straight left and the straight right. So I think his curved posture is the way he fights, and he could beat a lot of good heavyweights with that curved posture. But heavyweights with good uppercuts, I think will take him out. For example, Anthony Joshua, if you remember probably the best uppercut I've ever seen was from Anthony Joshua, and in his fight against the other Ukrainian guy, Klitschko. That uppercut was enormous. So I think Anthony Joshua could handle Verhoeven, and that would be a good fight. I think Verhoeven does deserve a rematch against Usyk. The decision was the correct decision. A little bit premature, but I am quite sure that Usyk would have finished him in the 12th round. He had finally figured him out. And I think if there's a rematch, I think Usyk will beat Verhoeven because he knows how to beat him now. Usyk figured it out. You could see he was trying to land uppercuts from about round 5, 6, 7 on. He finally realized that the uppercut is what's going to get to him. And he landed a few of them, but he finally landed the big one in round 11. So I look forward to a rematch. I think Verhoeven is the real deal. He certainly belongs in the top 10 among heavyweights, and they should let him go in and fight some other top 10 heavyweights. I wonder how he would do against Dubois. I wonder how he would do against others. I think Anthony Joshua could beat him. I think Deontay Wilder, I don't think could beat Verhoeven. Deontay Wilder doesn't have a great uppercut. That's not his forte. He has a tremendous right hand and a looping right hand, and I think he would have a hard time with Verhoeven. So I look forward to a lot more fights with Verhoeven. He really deserves to be in there, but in no way, shape, or form does this diminish anything about Usyk. Look, Usyk is no kid. I think he's 39 already. Eventually, someone's gonna beat him. He's got a lot of fights, and he's getting older. I personally think he ought to retire on top, but he's the kind of guy that will fight until he loses. Somebody someday will beat him, but Verhoeven did not beat him the other night. It was a good fight. It was a close fight. Verhoeven may have won the first few rounds. It may have been even on the fight card, but if you watch the fight, the tide was turning toward Usyk from about round 7, 8, and 9 on, and especially round 10, you could see Verhoeven was getting tired, and Usyk was starting to land the uppercut. So that's my assessment. I don't know if you agree with it or not, but that's what I think. If they fight again, I'm putting my money on Usyk, and I would really be interested to see what happens with Verhoeven in other fights, and if he does indeed fall victim to the uppercut. His stance is a problem.